Hello guys, welcome back to this van conversion. So today we're carrying on with the electrics and we're doing the DC-to-DC charger connection, and we're gonna sort out the ignition issue we had the previous video. And again, before we start, we're not professional electricians, so please do your own research for your own electrical setup, and if you don't feel confident in doing it yourself, go and ask for help, or at least have your DIY configuration checked by a professional electrician. And I do advise you go watch our previous two electrics videos, because in there we talk more about safety, how to crimp, the methods that we're using that we may skip over in this video because we're a bit further along in the process. So with that out of the way, let's show you all these colorful wires. Right, so this is our DC charger right here. We have already mounted it to our board with the dying part 1.
So a DC charger, in short, allows us to charge our leisure batteries from our van battery when the van is running, so essentially from our alternator. So the DC to DC charger we've got, I'll leave a link down in the description, is the REDARC 50 amp, which means that it can charge our leisure batteries at a rate of 50 amps, which means that if we're charging at full capacity only with the DC to DC, we can charge our lithium batteries from 0 to full in only 4 hours. So if we take a 4-hour drive, they'll be charged fully. So this is the instruction manual that came with the DC charger, and you've got to be careful because we've got a lithium setup. So the way that you wire it up and set up is different if you have lithium and if you have lead acid. So make sure you obviously get to the right diagram.
So this thing came with 7 wires, right? And all of these, I know it's a bit harder to see now because they're all sort of attached. Okay, so these are 5 of them. Okay, then you have the negative right here, going to the shunt,
because we have to track what the DC charger is pumping into the batteries.
Yep, so then all the negatives go to the shunt, and then that shunt connects to the negative of the battery there. So that's the negative cable of the DC to DC. And then we have the positive, which in this case is the brown wire that goes to the positive of our batteries.
So the power that comes from the van's battery will come into the box and then out through the brown wire and into the positive of our batteries to charge them.
Yeah.
So that is the simple positive and negative connected up.
Yeah, but obviously, like Sam said, you need this box to be connected to the van battery, which is why we have this cable.
So this is our secondary positive cable,
yeah,
which we will be running to the front of the van,
yeah,
which we'll show you in a minute.
Then this yellow one is actually a solar connection. So this DC to DC REDARC charger can actually control the solar output that you get and the alternator output that you get within the same box.
So essentially this box can do the same job as this blue box here. It's an MPPT charger as well. Now the reason we didn't connect up our solar and our alternator charging to the same box is if this box breaks, we lose 2 sources of charging, which basically means unless we're near AC power, we're stranded.
So that's the solar, and that's obsolete for us, so just to back up if our MPPT goes. And then that leaves these 3 thin cables. Now, this is the blue cable that some of you may know, which goes to the ignition, and we'll be finding that out in but a moment, and that also goes in that direction. And these 2 cables seem to tell the box in what battery mode to work, so for lithiums or for lead acids or for some sort of mixture. I must say this must be a nightmare for somebody colorblind.
I'm partially colorblind, but at least I can tell them. So the first thing we're going to do is solder together the orange and the green wires, and this basically tells the box, the DC to DC charger, that we're charging lithium batteries, not lead acid. So we've got the ends, and what we're going to do is going to solder joint them together. But before you do that, make sure you put some heat shrink on. So now that that's soldered, if I pull on that joint, that's not coming loose. So that's all good, and we'll pop over the heat shrink to protect it.
Just tuck it behind the wall.
Tuck it behind the wall, like so, with the solar cable. Cool. Alright. So as we said, we've already connected the positive and the negative to our battery terminals. So now we need to go and connect the positive to the van battery and the ignition wire.
So that's where we're coming here.
Right. Bolt bucket. Pop out. Voila.
Right, so I would say it's advisable that we follow the cable path that they have laid out.
So yeah, this one, because it goes under the seat and there's a little notch for them.
We should really have a look underneath the van. Underneath the seat, sorry. So the first thing we need to do is turn the seat halfway.
Yeah. Now if I pull it towards me.
Yeah.
There you go. Can you see anything? Where those cables are?
Yeah, I see them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can maybe direct it to that hole over there. First challenge is, where does this fuse box fit?
Yeah.
So that needs to be as close to the battery terminal as possible.
I was going to connect it on top of this. Just have it like poking out like sort of that.
Fine.
Let's find the path that we want the bigger cable to go
Okay, start the bigger cable here and then we'll see where we can tuck it in.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, we're using black cable because we ran out of positive red.
Yeah, so we'll just put a label on it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, now...
Careful. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so...
If I poke it under into the next section... So this giant hole here, which is pre-cut in the van, see, I can just poke that wire straight out.
Yeah. Would that be any problem in terms of wear and tear there?
No, it's pretty well worn on the, well smoothed on the inside. Yep. You know, that seems pretty good. So we need to figure out a way of connecting this to our 16mm cable going to the battery. And it's not strictly speaking advisable to solder such thick cable together. So the first thing that came to mind was using the eyelets, because that's what we use on everything else, and then just like putting a bolt through it. So yeah, I was thinking of something like that, but then the problem with that is we cannot get heat shrink over that to protect it. I don't know, maybe we need like to put it in something.
So we dug around and we found this. So we might not even have to go buy anything.
I was thinking basically if we put that in there and then close that.
The wire pokes, each wire pokes either end.
Yeah, so we can have the wire poking out each end.
So this will connect to the battery.
So that's battery, fuse box, then you want fuse box coming out. Then we've got our long black wire running through the seat. Then we have this thing.
Just put that on top of the box like that.
Right, that will go in the box. We've got the one coming out the other side.
And that's it?
And that's it.
That's it.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, well these are the spare ones then.
Crimped. This is the black cable coming from the battery, and this is the red cable coming from the DC to DC, and they're all ready to be bolted.
Alright, that's pretty tight.
Okay. Yeah.
That can go in its protective box. There you go.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we can stick that however we want on the back of here.
And now for you, little blue wire. Now it's your turn. You're gonna get connected to a fuse. Okay, so now we come back to the piggyback fuse. This was a thing that we started last video, and then we realized that we're doing something wrong, and then our multimeter broke. So in due course, we figured out that we have to ground the negative lead of the multimeter to another bare piece of metal. So we did a few test runs. Some of you pointed that out. Thank you so much for confirming that in our previous video. It was very helpful to know that we were going along the right track now. So yeah, let's just have a look which fuse to use.
So we've got a fuse diagram for our fuse box, so we kind of know what we're poking around in. So I'll leave a link to this down in the description below. This website tells you fuse locations for most make and models of bands. The owner's manual that we had is kind of useless for this. It didn't show any of these diagrams, so Congratulations, internet. You win this round. Right, multimeter to 20 volts. 18.
0.
19.
Yep,
is the live. Cool. 20.
Live.
20 is live as well.
Yep.
21.
0.
22.
0.
23.
0.
And 24.
0.
Okay. So we've eliminated 2. Now let's go and turn the ignition on and repeat. 16.
Live.
23.
Live.
Okay, and 24.
Live.
So we can use any of those.
Okay, let's see what they do.
23 is a 25 amp fuse onboard supply control unit. I think that's this 12 volt charger. I think we can tap into 23. That's the one we need to take out and hijack.
Okay.
There we go.
Ooh.
Right, so I'll pop that fuse in.
Right.
And then pop that. There we go. How eloquent does that look?
It looks really annoying.
So essentially when this fuse, or now number 23, is powered, when the ignition turns on, not only do we maintain the circuit that the van had, so with this fuse here, but also we get power to this line, and then we basically connect our blue cable up to this line so that the DC charger knows that we have power and it can start charging our leisure batteries, but only when this line has power, which is when the ignition is turned on. So since we can't stretch that blue cable all the way here, we're just going to have to solder on and crimp on an extension cable. So this is roughly the same size. So we just need to crimp it on to this connection on the piggyback fuse and then solder it on the other end to the blue wire.
Everything's connected up, so the DCDC is all connected, and we have installed the BMV. So now we can track our batteries and see whether they're charging, discharging, or whatever they're doing. We can see it now. However, one thing, we did remember that we should probably put a fuse in that piggyback fuse that we installed, so let me just show you what we mean.
In the piggyback fuse, you've actually got 2 fuse locations. Here we've got a small 5 amp fuse, which should be plenty for that tiny wire. So if we just pop that in next to it. So now this 5 amp fuse is for that blue wire, and this 30 amp fuse is for the original circuit that went in the van. So now we can pop that back in, and we can go for a test drive.
Okay, so we have discharged the batteries to, well, 94.5%. Yeah, we ran the fan back there.
For about 4 hours.
Yeah, for about 4 hours. So now what should happen is when we turn on the ignition, or at the very least when we start driving, the battery should show a charge. So there should be like a plus sign to the amps going into the battery.
Alright.
I have 2 monitors here. I only need one. Honestly, I only need the phone.
So it'll be interesting to see when the DC charger kicks on. So I'll put the key in.
Yeah.
No, not drawing anything.
Yeah, well it shouldn't, because
No.
the ignition's not on.
Ignition. Alright, well the ignition's on, but nothing's happening. So I'll turn the van on. And 0 amps.
Okay, let's start moving.
Let's see what it does. Because the alternator might not be on yet.
Just look at the road, I'll look at the monitor.
Okay.
Ah!
Still nothing, huh?
Still nothing.
Okay.
Alright, still nothing. Okay, that didn't quite work at all. So let's try and diagnose. Okay, first things first is there are lights at the bottom of this that we can't see because of the way we've set up the wires to go. So got a mirror here. Oh, they're all flashing. Why are you all flashing?
Right, all LEDs. 1 flash, 3.5 seconds off. 2 flashes, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many flashes are they doing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Input under voltage, vehicle or solar. Yeah, 12.5. So we're getting voltage to the fuse. So that blue wire is getting voltage.
Right.
Okay, so we know it's not that. The only other thing is if the van battery is low voltage. Voltage of the battery at standby is 12.6, so that's normal. Right, 12.1 because the alternator's not on. Give it a bit of gas. There we go. Alternator's on, 14.1. Okay, it's definitely getting voltage and it drops down to 12.7. Okay, so the battery's fine and it gets voltage. Right, spoke with Portable Power Tech again, the guys we bought this from. They've advised us to test the voltage of the lithium batteries when we turn the van on to see if there's power going into the batteries. If there is, it basically means that us connecting it to this negative shunt, there's something up with the BMV not reading the power going in. Right, so voltage is at 13.26. Nope.
Hold on. Gas.
Oh yeah, gas.
Nothing.
No, no change at all.
So it might be an issue with grounding. So we've called Portable Power Tech, the poor guys, probably about 5 times, maybe 6, and we're waiting for them to give us a call back. But they said the problem might be grounding. If we move the negative cable of the DCDC charger and ground it to chassis, as per the diagram, instead of connecting to the shunt at the moment, we're going to see if that produces a charge. That's not ideal for the monitoring side of things, but right now we're just interested in getting the REDARC to actually charge the batteries, which is not doing that at the moment. So
we've got this already threaded hole that came with the van, so we're going to ground it to here. We've scratched away all the paint, so this is bare metal now.
Oh.
Yep.
Am I to understand that means that I completed the circuit?
Yes. Yes, you are. Okay, that's tight on there. Cool. So we'll still connect the negative back to the battery, but the BMV will no longer be able to tell whether amps are going in because the negative on the DC to DC charger is no longer connected to that shunt. So we're going to have to use the voltage of the batteries to determine whether power is going in or not.
Connected.
No, no change. And no change. Nope. Okay, so we need to ground the battery to the chassis as well.
Okay, this is attempt number 3 or 4, I don't remember anymore. So now we have put a ground cable from the battery negative down to our makeshift grounding position down there, and the REDARC is also grounded there as well. Now the BMV will still not read, but now we have done everything as the diagram has told us. Yep, if this doesn't work, I don't really know what to do. By the way, as of this point, we don't actually know what grounding the batteries means for the BMV reading. Just saying. We need to figure it out, but one thing at a time, as I said.
Right, key.
Okay.
Positive, negative. 13.27. No change. Okay, give it a rev.
Yes.
No. Oh.
It changed.
Yeah, I'm at 13.3, 13.4. Give it a bit more gas. Yeah. 13.5.
Yeah, I'm seeing it too.
13.6. Okay, van off. 13.33. Take the key out.
Must be trigger charging.
And we're back down, 13.31.
Okay, so now we come to the final test, hopefully to make the BMV monitor the charge from the DC to DC. So now the batteries are grounded. but the REDARC negative is back to the shunt, and we hope that it's gonna work.
Yeah, give it a rev. Yep, 13.4, 13 point. It is not. No. The voltage is going up, but there's no visible current going in. It's actually saying it's discharging it by 1 amp, by 2 amps. It's discharging the battery. 3 amps. Yeah.
It's discharging the battery.
Yeah, it was discharging it.
But why would the voltage be going up?
I don't know.
So you might be a little bit confused as to why we originally ignored the grounding instructions on the REDARC wiring diagram. That was because we know that all the negative cables from all of our charger boxes must go to the BMV shunt, to the load side of the BMV shunt, in order for the BMV, the monitor, to actually see the circuits and to count everything that is going in and out of the batteries. And neither did we connect our leisure batteries to ground, because we were worried that having the batteries connected to ground would skew the monitor reading as well, because that creates a shortcut down into the chassis. Now obviously that hasn't worked out completely, so we have wired everything back as per the manufacturer specifications. So the REDARC charger and the leisure batteries are wired to ground. This of course is not permanent, because we need our monitor to be able to track the state of charge of our batteries. So we need to figure out a solution for that, and we'll be working on that probably next video. But right now, the most important thing for us to check is that our DC-DC charger is successfully charging the batteries, because we need to confirm that we actually have a functional product and not a faulty one. That can eliminate a lot of troubleshooting possibilities, and then we can just focus on getting the grounding right and the monitor connection correctly. So we're going to discharge the batteries now and going to take a drive in the morning. The rest of it works. Okay, let's try this again. So we're going to be trying to charge the batteries using the REDARC DC to DC charger. So what we've done is we've discharged the batteries to 94.4%, and we're going to go out for, was that a 10-minute drive that we need? If we have successfully charged the batteries with the REDARC, when we try and charge it with the AC charger, the AC charger would like think for a little bit, would try to pump its 30 amps, but then we're like, that's full. So it will stop rather quickly. If it doesn't stop rather quickly, that means that we haven't charged the batteries with the REDARC. So we can still use the BMV to see if there's a voltage increase. We just can't see if any amps are going into the battery or out of the battery.
So the voltage of the battery is at 13.26.
Okay, right. Hands are cold.
Oh, there we go.
Oh. So voltage increase.
So voltage is increasing.
Right. Amps is a minus because of this monitor, because it's still charging.
Yeah, so the DC is not connected, so there'll be no amps drawing from the DC.
Yeah, or we wouldn't know anyway.
Yeah. Right, so let's go for a 10-minute drive and see what happens.
To 24 minutes later. Okay, let's have a look. So if the DC to DC charging hasn't worked, then the AC charging should take about 20 minutes, or if for some reason we've been discharging the battery for this drive, it should take probably about 40 minutes. But if things have been successful, then it shouldn't take more than about 3 minutes for it to realize that it is charged.
Oh.
It's dropping straight away.
Straight away. 5 amps.
That's promising.
There you go.
Full.
Batteries are full. That took 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Right, so, well, this has been a wild ride. That's good news. The DC to DC charger is working and we have now wired it correctly. However, I haven't got a clue how to connect the BMV to it yet. So if you know how to do it, if you know somebody who knows how to do it, maybe somebody who's actually worked with a REDARC and a Victron BMV, if you have any tips for us, please leave them in the comments down below. Message us, email us, whatever. Just help. Anywho, catch you next time. Hope everything works out and we don't have to do something weird or dismantle the van or rewire the van. No.